Hello, Seattle Mennonite families. I am so sorry that we can't be together in person. It is something that I continue to be sad about every Sunday morning. Every time I meet with just one or two people in person, I'm sad that we can't all be together as a whole community. And my kids are sad about that too. They wish that they could be together. In fact, Ori told me a couple days ago that he misses communion. Well, he said he misses when we have bread and grape juice at church. And I thought, oh, I miss that too. I miss that. I miss the way that we have the intimacy with each other when we share communion. And I miss children being a part of that. I miss being together is what I just miss being with all of you and with people. And no one more than I would like to be together with children in Sunday school and with our youth in the Sunday school, in our Sunday school rooms. So there are some real disadvantages about not being able to, I think, to be together. Children more than anyone in our church, I think, begin to feel disconnected when they don't have their teachers and their Sunday school classmates and their peers and our whole church community to connect to in person. I think they, more than anyone else, don't connect on screens in quite the same way that we as adults are able to. But that being said, I think there are some advantages to the model that I'm going to introduce to you for faith formation for the fall, and I'll say more about that. One of them being the way how that it can be flexible, and that's one of the things that I hope we can take forward even after we're gathering together in person. I hope that throughout all of this, you as families are finding ways to care for yourselves, to care for your children, to care for each other, to take space, to take time when you need it. I know that there's a lot. We just did our first 2 days of Microsoft Teams kindergarten this morning, and still feeling a little bit worried and a little bit more, maybe a lot of hope for how that will be. And I have so much respect for the teachers who are doing the work of teaching this year. They have a lot going on, and so of course do we as parents. And so what I'm hoping is this way of doing faith formation doesn't feel like more for you to do, but that you will have some options for how to introduce faith formation into your children's lives at your own pace and at theirs, and a few options for kids and youth to check in either via Zoom, and for youth maybe a few times in person as well. So I'm going to do some screen sharing and to introduce you to some things, and I hope that if you have questions, you'll contact me with those afterwards. And hopefully this won't go too long, and you'll get to see something about how faith formation this is going to be this fall. So here is the book that I'm hoping to use, well, not that I'm hoping to, that I am going to be using to give some structure and provide some themes for each month. So I have September, October, November, and December. Each take a chunk of this book as the sort of jumping off place. If you have a young person who is, I would say, maybe 4th grade and older, this book is really, I mean, it's great for adults too, but really accessible, provides some, it's broken down into chapters that are maybe 6 or so pages long, lots of like fun illustrations, and each chapter ends with an invitation into like a writing exercise or a way to sort of think about yourself in relation to its content. So this is the book that's giving us the shape to the fall. And then these are a couple of Bible resources that I'm using, particularly when I'm talking about the material for kids, and when I'm making biblical connections between race and justice in the Bible, which maybe I should have said off the top. We're focusing throughout this fall on race and justice in the Bible. And then Tiffany Jewell's book, This Book is Anti-Racist, is giving some framework and background for the secular sort of piece of that. But the whole Bible is a calling on God's people to do justice. So all of the Bible stories that I'll focus will have, each month there'll be at least one Bible story Shine On. And I know that some of our families have that one. If not, I mean, many of the stories that I've chosen can be found in other story Bibles. Desmond Tutu's Bible is one of my favorites. And then this book, the All of Us story Bible, it's brand new from Meno Media. And one of the reasons that I like it in particular is because it has sort of a graphic novel kind of thing going on. So they'll have a story, and then they'll have that same story sort of told in picture form. And I really like that. And if you watch the first video for September, I show some pictures of that, and I can show you that on the website in a little while. So for September, we're going to be doing work on making sense of our identities. So God made each of us in the divine image, and whatever race we identify with, or that people see that we are, God made us to be celebrated, and in all of what makes us different, and in all of that we have in common with other people. The story that I'm highlighting in a video on the website is Mary's encounter with an angel, and talking about Mary's identity. Each of us has an identity that people see, and sort of the deeper stuff that people don't necessarily see or can't tell. So that's what September is. October, we're making sense of the world. So that sort of expands out beyond ourselves to our stories, the stories of our ancestors, of our land. Part of our story is the biblical narrative. And we need to acknowledge both that there is injustice written into both the biblical narrative and into the stories that we carry with us. And we can find ways to claim our own stories of resistance and peace building and shalom building and justice from our histories. And here are some of the Bible stories that I've identified for that. So then for November, taking action. Not that we can't be taking action all the way along, and hopefully some of that will be built into September and October as well. But once we've begun to understand our history and understand that we're called to do justice, to interrupt racism, that's when we can be empowered to act. And Jesus especially calls us to interrupt injustice, to create peace, to create shalom. But I've identified some stories both in the Old Testament and in the New Testament where people have been interrupters of injustice in the way of justice. And then in December, growing in solidarity. So deepening our relationships, being in solidarity with people who are experiencing injustice, releasing our privilege when we have privilege, and growing in love and relationship. So, and then here again, some stories, these ones all from the New Testament, about ways to engage with people across culture, across race, in the case of Philip and the Ethiopian eunuch. So the schedule, as we look at the schedule through September through December, in fact, I think before I do this, I'm going to stop share. Before I do that, I want to talk about not the schedule, but the website, which, have I closed it? Of course I have. It's at smcfaithformation.org. And now I can share that screen if I can find myself again. This is what it looks like. If you go to smcfaithformation.org, you can see that there will be opportunities to read, watch, listen, and engage. And you can see there briefly the fall formation goals, which I talk about, interrupting injustice in the way of Jesus. And then here you'll see that you can decide where you feel like your family or children fit. And I'll start with the children's page. So I was talking about how I made a video. Each month I'll include a video of myself engaging in one of these Bible stories and talking about the theme of that month. So in September, it's making sense of our identities, and I talk about Mary's story, her encounter with an angel, and how she discovers that her identity is rooted in a God of justice. So then you'll see some examples here of things that you can read. Each of these actually link to a YouTube video of the book being read, and a few of them have then some sort of questions to engage with that material afterwards. Some things that you can watch or listen to of various sort of lengths, and you can engage that with your child. And then this engage is an activity or a way of sort of thinking about the material that you've just read. And I will say that Ori and I did this skin tones one this past Sunday in worship. We read The Colors of Us by Karen Katz. And in fact, there's this is not linked to the video of us, but I did a video of me reading that book. And then because we were painting anyway, we did this exercise where we sort of tried to mix colors to match our skin and paint what we look like, which is what the character in Karen Katz's book does. And then if you want to, we'll check out the middle years stuff. So it's set up in a similar way. I'm not doing a video for middle grade kids and youth, but have some different things that are more sort of age appropriate for those kids. Two books that I really recommend. So in addition to this book is Anti-Racist by Tiffany Jewell. I recently read Stamped: Racism, Anti-Racism in You, and I would absolutely recommend that book for middle school and high school students. Just really, really great primer on racism, where it came from, and its history, sort of going back in history in this country, and even sort of outside in a global context. So good. And Mennonites are mentioned in that book, which was really, really fun and exciting to discover our story of resistance to racism, like 400 years ago. So super exciting. And then just quickly show the youth resources. Here we go. So similar, there'll be some overlap in the middle grade and the youth. And then, and youth will be able to sort of decide for themselves. And what I'm hoping to do is when we meet in Sunday school, then that's when we can talk about sort of how do we make the connection between what God is calling us to and some of the many, 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 many anti-racism resources that there are on the internet. So that's where I come back to our schedule. So what I've done is create a sort of a rotation. So children will have one opportunity a month to meet in person, and so children are going to be on the fourth Sunday of the month. That's when children will meet. And then youth and middle grade kids will have an opportunity to meet 2 times a month, one on a Sunday morning for Sunday school, sort of more traditional learning kind of stuff, and then once on an evening time to have more of like a youth group kind of experience. And that might be in person, or that might be on Zoom if the weather gets too terrible. But I know both. I know that some of you families have already said you'd be willing to host another gathering for middle grade or high school young people. So this is what the rotation looks like. First Sunday of the month, evenings, high school. Second Sunday is when, so there's no Sunday school for any age group on first Sundays. But I also wondered, and this is just an aside for now, maybe it's an opportunity for parents to have a set aside Sunday school Sunday once a month. You can get back to me about whether you think that would be a positive thing to do, or a thing that you might engage in. Second Sundays, we start with middle grade Sunday school. Third Sunday is youth Sunday school, and then fourth Sunday is children's Sunday school, and that's the evening when the middle school youth will have, and on here it says Zoom, but again, that might be in person. So that is the schedule, and so that's sort of what the content looks like for fall. I hope that you'll check out the resources on the internet. I hope that you'll just kind of like browse around on smcfaithformation.com, which brings me to the one last thing that I want to share with you, and that is Again, on the website, if I can get out of here. There you go. One of the things that you'll find, so you see newsletter, that's just going to be whatever my midweek message was that week. The last thing is family faith practices. So this is something that you will, that will change seasonally. So not every month, but so you might find something new here in Advent. If you are looking for a resource to share at the table, or maybe bedtime, whatever works. I don't see, maybe some of you are doing this, but if you're looking to create some sacred time in the life of your family, often that's meal times or bedtimes, maybe in the morning. This is an option for you to use whatever piece of this, maybe it's just the song, maybe it's just a short Bible reading. Maybe it's just a prayer or some piece. Maybe it's a blessing at bedtime. But some part of this might be something that you could use in your family. And every family will also get, Megan and I are going to make a card that has the liturgy on one side, mealtime prayers on the other. And that's going to go in a package to each family when we can get our act together. And so whatever pieces of those make sense for your family. So that's one piece of the of faith practices. And then if we scroll down underneath there, we'll have different seasonal things. And then the other thing that I have in here is mindfulness and meditation practices. I have 3. You can see I just have 3 here now. I'm going to keep adding things to this as I think of them, and I will sort of point people to this page as I'll point people to that page through my midweek message or in worship, or if there are things that I want people to use or point people to, from a children's time or in Sunday school, this website will become the place where I throw all the things that I'd like people to take a look at. If you have questions, if you are like, oh, this doesn't work for me, I need help in another way, please just contact me and let me know. That's what my job is. I want to be whatever resource I can be to families who need help creating the space for the sacred in family life. God knows that it's enough of a struggle for us just to get through each day and school and work and all the things. So even if it's just a conversation, I welcome that. Those conversations, and I bless you in all of the holy work that you are doing of parenting and being family to each other. And I bless whatever time comes next for you after you watch this.